Total Backyard Solutions. Today we are going to learn how to clean your Pentair cartridge filters for a Clean and Clear Plus 320. The same process applies to the 420 and the 520. So welcome to Pool Care 101, and here we go. To start off with, you will need to know when to clean your filters. So you gauge how to clean your filters in a couple of ways. One, you want to do it as a matter of habit at the beginning and end of your pool season. Also, you will always need to check your pressure gauge to know whether or not the pressure has gotten too high. When the pressure is 10 psi above what it normally is, that's when it's time to clean your filter. Now, every plumbing situation and pool situation is different. So the pressure at which your filter is going to stay as its perfect optimum PSI is going to be different from others. That's why this gauge has a start arrow on it and a clean filter arrow set at 10 psi apart. This start arrow on the facing of this can be turned. And so when you first start up your pool and you know that that is your perfect optimum PSI, that's where you want to put your start. Since this can be moved, it's also important to record that somewhere, or take a Sharpie and make a little mark, whatever you need to do to make sure that that doesn't get moved and fool you in the future. So when you see that it is too high, this will happen especially with weather changes, high pollen, high wind and dust. All these things are going to increase the amount of debris in your filter and increase the pressure. That's when it's time to clean it. So to start off with, safety first. The first thing that you need to know about your filter is that it is the most dangerous piece of equipment you have because it's under extremely high pressure. That being so, anytime you're opening any piece of equipment on your equipment pad and accessing the water inside that, whether that is perhaps your pump lid, or whether that is your chlorinator, or whether that is your salt cell system, all of these things that get opened, no matter what they are, you have to do two things. One, shut off your main power and release the pressure. Shutting off your main power is the best way to turn off your equipment. There are other buttons, there are things that say service mode, there are different things you can press that will turn off the pump for a time, but sometimes a schedule that is set can kick in, and that can cause it to come back on while you have it open. You don't want that. You'll have a big shower, or also can be injured. So an important thing is to just turn it off at your main switch. So that might be in your garage, that might be near your equipment, wherever your power breaker is at. After you have done so, you are safe from any power issues, but now we still have a pressurized capsule which you need to release. So this pressure relief valve at the top of your filter has two prongs on either side. These prongs have to be squeezed and turned. So you can see that this can rotate up and down. The down position is closed. When you squeeze and rotate upward, now that has released the pressure. You will hear the noise coming out in a psh sound as it releases, and you'll know that that pressure has been released. And now, as well, you will see that the gauge has gone down to 0. When you see that as 0, now you have a safe system to open up. One more thing though, you want to wear flip-flops. Your feet will get wet. You do need to release the water. If you just open it at this point, the water will really make a big mess. So if you come down to the bottom of your unit, there is a plug here at the bottom. This plug, and I'm going to unscrew it here, comes out, and you can see a couple things about this. One, it has a yellow O-ring on it, and it also has here at the bottom is this hexagonal spot that you can use a wrench to take off. So it's very easy to hand tighten and undo, but if it's in a stuck position, you can also use a wrench, and there is enough room here to turn the wrench to get it off. Once you have this out, it's a good idea to lube this O-ring. This is a place where you would look through on your weekly walkthrough of your pool equipment for possible drips. This would be a place that you would need to maintain. You can use magic lube to put on that to keep it up and make it last longer and make the seal work even better. So once you've taken that out, you're going to have a lot of water that's going to come out on the ground, but now this filter capsule is depressurized and empty. So now it's time to open. As you can see on here, I don't have the band on it. This is the band that you will would be tight around it, like so. I'm going to show you from one that is removed. This band here shows you the proper pattern that you will need to see for the washers and the spring and the nut on this band. When this is on properly, this spring, and if you come in close here, this spring right now is open. You can see that the fingers of the spring are apart. When this band is properly closed, that spring is going to come together and be touching. That's how you know you have it on tight enough. It does take a long time to undo, so you'll need a wrench, and various wrenches will work. It's a lot of undoing because it's a long bolt, but it's important that when you're done, these are completely closed, and that's how you know that it's on tight. In addition to that, this seal here, you always want to feel that it is all flush, that it's not lopsided or wobbled. But when you're taking it apart, it'll just be a matter of undoing the bolt. This is a good time to take out your phone and take a picture. So you see the pattern that it's in. It's the, you have the bolt, the nut, a washer, the spring, and another washer. But always taking a picture as you go along helps you keep it clear so that you know how to put it back together again. Then you're able to remove the top half. It's simply going to lift right off. Okay. Once you've removed that part, you'll see that there is a large O-ring here. This often will have a lot of debris built up on it, so you do want this to be part of your cleaning process. You can remove this, and I'll show you how to put it back on. This is something that you can hose down, and then upon putting it back, you'll want to use more magic lube, lots of it on there. This is a silicone lubricant. Do not use things like Vaseline or petroleum-based products. They will harm your O-ring. So now that you have it apart, you can take off this top brace. It has a spring attached here. The spring is on there fairly snug, but it can pop off, so you want to watch for that. If you hear anything drop in the bottom, you want to be sure to try to retrieve what that is. This is another small piece that can pop off. It comes right off the top. This has a small grate on it, and this is a piece that has to be in here. You can check this for debris and rinse it. And that, although it has threading in it, it just goes on flush. If you have a larger unit, you may see an extension piece on there that takes it up higher. Now you have your 4 filters that simply pop off. Down in the bottom here, the brace really just looks just like this one, but upside down. It looks just like this, and they're going to set right on there. Once you take these out, there'll be a lot of debris in the bottom of your unit as well. So it's important to have your hose reach your filter area here so that you can, if you can come in here, this is where you would need to flush it down, and it would go out the hole in the bottom where that drain plug was, and there'll be debris down there to clean out. And that's important. If you get your filters all clean and put them back in and there's debris in the bottom, it's going to go right back in them. Okay, so once you have the capsule cleaned out, your little grate here is cleaned out, now you're ready to clean your filters. There's 2 different ways to clean your filters. One is to use a quick spray. It's a spray-on that you put on the filter and you let it set for about 15 minutes. And then after that has set, it's basically a degreaser. It's going to get off built up matter and such. And then you just spray that off. And the other way to do it, which especially you want to do at the beginning and end of your pool cleaning season, is to do a deep soak. And the deep soak involves 8 hours of sitting in a large garbage can in your garage or wherever and soaking overnight. So this is a process where you just follow the dilution instructions on the bottle, and you put it in a large garbage can, all 4 of them. And then you're going to want to have something heavy, some kind of weight, a cinder block, something of the sort, some bricks, that you're going to put the lid upside down on the garbage can and put the weight on top, because these are very buoyant and they want to just jump right out and not stay submerged. So you have to push them down, put that lid on, and set it on top. Leave it overnight. The next day you're also ready to spray them down. So spraying down these filters is best done with a single direct spray. So there's, you know, your nozzles may have a lot of different arrangements on them, but you want to choose the one that's using a single spray coming out the middle. That's going to give you the strongest direct power, starting at the top and just turning it as you go down each one of these. Now, things you need to look for on your filter. Damage that can happen to your filter can happen in a couple different ways as they're getting older. You may see a band here that becomes unattached, or in anywhere where it's not firmly glued down, because it is glued at every point exactly down on all of these different folds. If it's not, and there's a part that's separated, it's time to get a new filter, because that will start to bulge and rip and cause problems and can damage your equipment. So also you want to look up here at the top where the rubberized top here meets the paper. You want to make sure there's no holes going on there, and of course no holes anywhere in any of the folds. So once you have rinsed that down with a hose, which does take a little time, you get a little wet, but once it's done, you will be ready to put them back together. The difference between that quick soak method and the long 8-hour soak is that one is going to remove more of the deep calcium deposits, things that you can't see. So sometimes you can get it quickly cleaned with the spray cleaner, but you can't see the calcium deposits as much because they're kind of the same color as the paper, and they're deeper. So the deep soak helps to dissolve those. All right, so now that you're ready to put it back together, putting your 4 filters in, we're going to get this O-ring on. The O-ring is tricky. This is something that it can help to have 2 people when putting your O-ring back on, because sometimes, especially on newer O-rings, when they're have extra bounce to them, they'll want to jump off the moment you think you have them on. It is possible to do it with one person. And of course, you want to do your magic lube at this point and have this be all wiped clean. You want your surface where it's connecting to be wiped clean as well, so that you don't have anything compromising that seal. When you lay it on, by putting it on the back edge, hugging your filter, or getting a second person to help you, and just tapping it down with your hand, you can work your way back. You get all the way to the back of the stretch and get it set on there. Okay, before closing this unit, the one last thing that we need to put on is our brace, making sure that this mesh piece is seated well. The brace is going to go in and good and solid. Make sure that all of these have been pushed down solid at the base, and give them a good wiggle. After that, we're ready to put our cap on. Okay. Now, you want to feel that this bottom piece here is very even. Now you can see right now, if you can see O-ring from the outside, that's not correct. This should come down around it where you don't really see it bulging out. You want to feel all the sides and feel that the distance here is the same on all sides, that there's no overhang and nothing off kilter. Safety wise, you always want to, of course, follow all the warnings that are on the filter top. It is important not to be leaning over your filter when you are reestablishing the pressure and all that. I had a technician who went out after a customer had put it together and it was a little off kilter. When he turned on the system and came to check out the pressure, right in front of his face, it blew off, landed in the neighbor's pool. That's how much pressure is in here. It's really important to be aware that this must be really flush, very even. Okay, so now you're ready to put your bracket on. This helps to have 2 people, but if you are doing it with one, it is possible. Getting this to go through the other side, sliding it on, and then I'll show you here on the one that's pretty simple. Making sure that you do it in the right pattern by following what you took a picture of on your cell phone earlier. You'll have the nut, the washer, the spring, and again the washer. Okay, so when you have this around it and you tighten it, make sure that the fingers of that spring are fully closed. That's when you know it's done. If you see them touching each other, it's good. It's got the right pressure and it's holding that all in place. You still have to make sure that the water, again, will stay inside here. So your drain is going to need to be put back on. And of course you have lubed that O-ring. Remember that because you're screwing this in upside down, it'll feel kind of counterclockwise from the overhead. It'll feel like you're doing it the opposite, but you'll be screwing that down. If you hand tighten it and give it a good push, that's good enough. You don't have to use a wrench on it, but if you want to, just be light with it and you know, give it a push, but it doesn't need to be over tightened. Also, now we have the water that's going to hold in, but we also have a tank full of air. So when you turn your power back on and turn your pump back on, it's going to push this air out. You have to make sure that this valve is open. If it's closed, that air is going to be pushed through your equipment and make a lot of gurgling and everything. It's not good for the equipment. So you want to relieve that air from here through the air relief valve by squeezing and turning and opening it. Once you turn that pump on, you're going to again hear that noise of the air escaping. And once the air has come out, now the water actually will start coming out. And when you see that water spewing out from either side, just duck and run, squeeze it and turn it down. And that's how you get it all contained. At that point, you're ready to use your pool equipment. Take note of that your new starting PSI has improved from before you cleaned it, so you can see that you did a good job. And just keep a watch on that for the next time it needs to be cleaned. And you're all set. Thank you.